Good morning and welcome to the webinar on Ecopia tyres and saving on fuel. My name is Michelle. Today you will hear from Matthew Crynes, Mechanical Engineer and National Technical Field Service Manager at Bridgestone. Matt has been with Bridgestone for 5 years. Along with over 13 years experience at Holden, he understands tyre technology and the positive impact it can have when making the right tyre choice for your application. So welcome Matt, over to you.
Awesome, thank you Michelle. So today I'll be talking about Ecopia tyres and how we can save your fuel. So I guess the industry is changing, the transport industry is changing. There's a number of new, there's a focus on sustainability through electric vehicles, bio and renewable fuels, renewable energy, connected vehicles, hydrogen vehicles, data telematics, and also recycled materials. Some of our large customers have a lot of focus on sustainability. This is an example from Coles, which they would like to have 75% of its suppliers to have science-based emissions reduction targets by the end of June 2027. Another example from Woolworths, I believe, by 2030, they aim to reduce their Scope 3 emissions by 19% compared to a 2015 baseline. And then with Australia Post, they have 2025 targets of reducing emissions by 15% by 2025. And then the program work is to deliver emissions reduction plan for Scopes 1, 2 and 3. Bridgestone is committed to a sustainable future globally. With this in mind, we will deliver social and customer value. Bridgestone's sustainability ambitions are to have a 50% reduction of CO2 emissions by 2030 and work towards having 100% sustainable materials by 2050. How, can Bridgestone support your targets? We have two areas. One is our BandAg product. They're our retread tyres, and then we also have our Ecopia low rolling resistance tyres. Let's talk about BandAg first. Quickly, the importance of retreading as a sustainable choice. Basically, our retreading process conserves raw materials and reduces solid waste. You can have up to 75% recycled and reused materials, use 70% less oil, and the more times you retread your tyres, the less solid waste is generated. So you can see there that after the third time a tyre has been retreaded, you're saving 69% of the waste compared to having 3 brand new tyres. And then if we look at the carbon emissions as well, it's a similar story. The more times you retread, the less carbon emissions are produced. So again, after that third retread, you're saving 51% of your emissions or 110 kilograms of CO2. So that's just a brief overview of our sustainability benefits of using our retread product. Then we'll go to our Ecopia low rolling resistance tyres, which is the meat of this webinar. Typically, a fleet will spend up around 28% of their entire cost is on fuel. Whereas you can see on the right-hand side there, the tyre spend is generally about 3% of the overall spend. So you're looking at roughly a 10-to-1 ratio between tyre spend and fuel spend. In the fuel bar there, we've broken that into thirds. So roughly a third of your fuel spend is overcoming air resistance of driving a truck up the road. 33% is also used for overcoming the rolling resistance of the system, whether it's the tyres, the bearings, all sorts of different rolling resistance factors. And then the other third is everything else associated with driving a vehicle. So rolling resistance is 1/3 of the fuel consumption. So roughly 10% of the fleet's cost is just to overcome rolling resistance. So if we can reduce the tyres rolling resistance, it will reduce the fuel use and therefore the cost and the money that each fleet is spending. So our Ecopia concept to reduce tyre rolling resistance, tyres deform when they're being used on the road, tyres deform, causing internal friction between carbon molecules, which generates heat, and heat is an energy loss. Our Ecopia compounds reduce the internal friction or heat through more even mixing and distribution of the carbon molecules. You can see that in the right-hand side there, a graphical representation, a conventional tyre. You can see the carbon molecules, or those black balls, are all closely tight together. The Ecopia compound is represented by that little gold ball attached to each of the carbon balls, and they more evenly distribute and give more space between each of the carbon molecules, which helps to lower the energy loss. If we reduce the energy loss, then there's going to be less energy required to roll a tyre. So this is the basic concept of how our Ecopia tyres work. We reduce the internal friction or heat and therefore increase the efficiency of the tyre. So when we first developed this concept, initially we started with some indoor lab testing. It's extremely well-controlled conditions. It is the most accurate method of measuring the rolling resistance of tyres. In the bar charts down the bottom there, you can see that at the time, our premium tyre is a benchmark tyre for both drive and trailer. And then the blue bar is how much rolling resistance as a percentage that the Ecopia tyres have over the premium Bridgestone tyre. So in both cases, we saw roughly a 21% reduction in the rolling resistance of our Ecopia tyres compared to our premium Bridgestone line haul tyres at the time. So we've proven that we can have that the Ecopia tyres have a lower rolling resistance. The next step was to go to some very controlled on-road testing. This was run on the Western Highway in Melbourne. Basically, as many conditions as we could were controlled. We used the same driver, the same vehicle, the same load, the same speed, the same route. We ran the same test on the same vehicle. The first time it was set up with premium Bridgestone tyres. The second time it was set up with Ecopia tyres all round. So the fuel efficiency was measured by a fuel flow meter to get the best accuracy for the short test that was run. And the results that we found was 7.6% fuel saving over the test. So the lower rolling resistance that we know that the Ecopia tyre has now been proven to reduce the fuel that was used in a controlled on-road test. Although Bridgestone ran this test, so some may say that it may be biased. So what we did is we got an external supplier, an external engineering company to run their own controlled tests. We supplied the tyres only. They ran their tests. And through two different Ecopia tests, they found that the fuel saving that they saw was 9.6%. So we have independently verified that the Ecopia provides real-world fuel savings in a controlled environment. Then we targeted some of our customers to do some real-world fleet testing. We used various fleets and various applications. We didn't have any. Well, we minimised the amount of control that we put into the test, and we saw for a B-double, across all the B-double fleets that we tested, we saw an average of 6% fuel saving for a typical line haul customer. And on the right-hand side there, you can see for different trailer configurations, from a quad road train down to a semi-trailer, that there is a significant difference in the fuel saving. This is due to a quad road train having significantly more tyres. So if you're reducing the rolling resistance on dozens of tyres compared to, say, 18 tyres on a semi-trailer. 12 tyres on a semi-trailer. There'll be significant fuel saving. So this is an example of how Ecopia can save you money. We're comparing our premium wear life tyres, which are designed for long wear life for line haul operations, comparing them to our Ecopia tyres. Some assumptions that we made is the fleet spends $50 million a year on fuel, which, based on the table that we had at the start of the presentation, that equates to roughly $5.3 million spent on tyres. Now, the next chart we've got in the middle there is, I guess, the two different tyres that we use. The premium tyre is considered our control. So that's a 100%, I guess, benchmark. And then the Ecopia tyre, for different aspects of the equation, have either positive or negative impacts to the costs. So for tyre life, Ecopia is not designed as a wear life champion. It is not designed to have long wear life. It is designed as a fuel saving tyre. So the wear life may not be as good as you may receive on a premium Bridgestone steer tyre, Bridgestone line haul tyre. So we'll assume there's 10% less wear life. So you're going to spend $500,000 more on your tyre bill because of a reduction in wear life. And because of all the technology and the I guess the development that's gone into the Ecopia tyre, generally they're going to be a more expensive tyre than your premium wear life tyre. So let's assume another 10% price rise, which is another $500,000 extra that you're going to spend on your tyre bill. So not looking good so far. However, then if we move to the fuel usage, now we've gone from a 100 index down to a 94. So that's an assumption of a 6% fuel saving, which equates to $3 million. So the overall total cost is a saving of $2 million, or 4% of the $55.3 million overall spend that the fleet was having. So yeah, I guess the summary down the bottom, tyre wear life and price are relatively small factors compared to the fuel savings that you will achieve with the Ecopia tyres. Ecopia tyres are not necessarily useful in all fleets. So your smaller fuel savings are going to come from your metro buses, your waste companies that are, or your local operators that are going to be doing stop-start work. They've got a lower GCM. Generally, they're rigid, so they've got less tyres. That could be empty one way potentially, and there may be long idle times. So the saving you're going to get from an Ecopia tyre is going to be offset by these other factors. As you move to the right, the larger fuel savings come from generally vehicles that are doing constant speed. They've got high GCM. The vehicles have generally got many tyres, B doubles, triples, quads, etc. Quite often the vehicles are loaded in both directions and there's minimal idle time. So in general, we would work with the customer to work out what their general operations are, and we would recommend Ecopia or other tyres depending on their usage. I've got a case study here that we did a couple of years ago now. It's an example of a customer that switched to Ecopia, which provided significant fuel, cost savings, and other sustainability benefits. This customer was based in Perth. We used two vehicles that were identically set up in terms of the trailers and the prime movers. The only difference that we had was the tyre set up on both vehicles. They ran from Perth to Adelaide as a triple combination. In Adelaide, they dropped the front trailer, and then from Adelaide to Sydney and back, they did it as a B-double combination. And then once they got back to Adelaide, they picked up the front trailer and went back as a triple all the way back to Perth. So both vehicles did that run consistently. We had, as I say, identical vehicles running the same route and operation. The top vehicle you can see there we've set up with our Ecopia tyres, and the second vehicle we used the tyres that this customer was currently using, which was a Chinese branded drive tyre. The front trailer had Korean branded trailer tyres, and then the dolly and the rear two trailers had Chinese branded tyres on them as well. So first of all, let's just look at the wear life of the Ecopia versus the the Chinese and Korean branded tyres. So drive tyres, our Ecopia tyre actually had a 35% better wear life than the Chinese branded tyres. The dolly had a 50% better wear life with the Ecopia R109, and that tyre has actually been replaced in the market now with an R119, which gives an additional 15%. So effectively, it's 65% better wear life than the Chinese branded tyres. The front trailer compared to the Korean tyres had an 11% better wear life, and the rear trailers that had the Chinese branded tyres, the Ecopia saw an 81% improvement in wear life. Now let's look at the cost analysis for the tyres only, not looking at fuel yet, we're just looking at the tyre cost. So up the top there, you can see that the amount of tyres that this company was using across their fleet for the year. So roughly 5,600 tyres between their drive trailers and dollies. So they were spending roughly 1.7, just under $1.8 million in tyre pricing, tyres alone. And we've obviously hidden the customer's original tyre price that they were paying from their current supplier. With our proposed Ecopia fitments, with that improved wear life, you can see the tyres used per year is significantly lower than the Chinese and Korean tyres above. And I guess we've got the overall cost, the negative cost impact. So the drive tyres were more expensive, but all of the trailer tyres, including the dolly, were actually a cheaper cost to the customer compared to the overall cost of the Korean and Chinese tyres they were using. If you look at the tyres per year, it's dropped from 5,600 tyres to 3,800 tyres, which is a significant reduction in the amount of tyres that are used. Well, there is a little bit of a cost impact in tyre spend. So this customer is going to spend nearly $69,000 extra on their tyres for the year. However, with that nearly 1,800 less tyres, it's a 32% reduction in end-of-life tyres. It's also 32% less changeovers that are going to have to happen. So the vehicle is not down anywhere near as much. It's down 32% less than it would have been with the Chinese and Korean tyres that were currently being used. And also, as I say, there'll be 32% less scrap tyres. However, because Bridgestone retread our tyres, there's the potential of a 95% reduction in their scrap tyres because the Bridgestone casings would be sent for retreading with a small percentage of tyres that are not worth retreading or that are damaged beyond retreading. Let's now look at the fuel results. So the two vehicle configurations, you can see in the top left there, the distance travelled is roughly 500 kilometres difference between the first and the second vehicle. The fuel used, the vehicle with their current tyres, which is the Chinese and Korean drive and trailer tyres, used over 3,000 litres more than the vehicle fitted up with Ecopia tyres. That equates to a fuel economy improvement from 68.62 litres per 100 to 62.23, which is roughly a 9.3% more fuel efficient purely by changing the tyres. So their current tyre spend was $1.76 million. Typically, fuel is roughly 10 times tyre spend, as we saw earlier. So we estimate that their fuel spend would be around $17.6 million. If you're looking at 9.3% of that $17 million, there's going to be about a $1.6 million saving on fuel, which is absolutely significant for this customer. Now, that's purely the dollar value. Down the bottom there, I've just got, a calculation. Total fuel savings estimated at $1.6 million by switching to Ecopia. 1 litre, for CO2 emissions, 1 litre of diesel roughly equates to 2.68 kilograms of CO2 emissions. Based on the 3,300 odd litres of fuel that was saved in this test, though that Ecopia vehicle emitted 8.75 tonnes less CO2 than the other vehicle, just by changing their tyres. So that is a significant sustainability story to use. Okay, so I guess the next step, Enlighten technology. This is a Bridgestone technology where Enlighten is core technology that realises the evolution in sustainability and mobility. From a sustainability perspective, it will have lower environmental impact, CO2 reduction, resource efficiency, material circularity, and we're ensuring that the casing durability is such that we can have multiple retread lives. From a performance perspective, we're looking for outstanding performance in the products-focused area, and it is based on criteria that matter most to the customer. And we're ensuring that we're having EV readiness. And Bridgestone's overriding driver is safety, and safety is our number one priority in wet and dry conditions. So we're going to ensure that the customer is getting the best safety that they can. And do we have any questions? So we have had a couple of questions that have been submitted. Let me just bring them up now. So I guess one question that was submitted was, were there fuel economy tests that were performed on loaded trucks? If so, what weight range? And so that it gives us an idea of the real world usage. So that case study, those vehicles were carting general freight, so they were loaded in both directions. So yeah, it is I guess that has a B triple. I'm not sure exactly what the weight was, but yes, they were loaded vehicles. Second question was, what role, if any, did tyre pressures play in the test? And I guess this person was interested in the methodology used to determine the tyre pressures for the test, if any. We set the tyre pressures based on the customer's requirements. If the customer had a requirement to have 90 psi in their drive tyres, we would use 90. If they had a requirement for 100 psi, we would use 100. So we want to make sure that it is as relevant for the customer as possible, but at the same time, both vehicles need to be set up with the same pressures. And I guess I've had a couple of other questions here. Are Ecopia tyres suitable for all trucks? Ecopia tyres are able to be fitted on all trucks, yes. Based on the usage of the fleet, we would be recommending Ecopia for more a line haul fleet rather than a local, like a waste fleet or a bus fleet or a local delivery service. And are there any other Bridgestone tyres that offer the same savings? So our Ecopia range is our fuel economy champion range of tyres. We do have other tyres that offer different criteria. Our premium line haul tyre, which is designed as a wear life champion, so you get the best wear life out of the tyres. And then we also have our retread tyres as well, which are designed for sustainability, and they're a more, I guess they're a cheaper cost up front. So you have upfront cost savings by using our retread range. And another question was, how can we work out how much we can save? In general, we like to run a test in your fleet. So so that we can use your real world example and work out a real world saving that you would see comparing two trucks running the same route. We can provide estimates, but until we do it in your fleet, we don't truly know what savings we can offer you. So that's all the questions that I have for now. Thank you for your time. I appreciate your everyone watching this recording, and please reach out to me if you have any further questions.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you for making the time to talk to us today. If you have any further questions, please email info@natroad.com.au and we can pass it on to Matt. Have a great day.